So the sky is sunny and clear. It's actually quite warm. I got up. Well, I woke up late because I slept until 5. Then for a couple hours I was playing with my phone, and then of course I slept in. And then I realized, hey, it's really hot, and I didn't need to put the heaters on for a change. And so I woke up and it's like already the humidity is like way up, and and I need pretty lightweight clothing. I couldn't put on my wool pants even if I wanted to, so I put them in the wash like they need to be put in the wash. And I decided, what a nice day, I don't even need a jumper on today, so it's like summer, it's got that humidity, and it's quite nice actually. But the ground's still soggy though, ain't it? The ground is so soggy, like there's lots of sogginess to the ground though. Up in the sky, it's pretty sunny, and you're like going, oh, what a nice day. Too bad about the sogginess. Look at the birds hovering around. I shouldn't encourage the dog to come this way when they're on the ground. I might go the other way. Anyway, before I went to bed, I was watching some music clips. Amongst them was The Summer of Love. Ironic that I go to bed when the last songs that I listen to is Summer of Love. Wow. And I wake up and it's like summer. So it's pretty ironic. Yeah. But it's definitely probably going to be a hot summer this year because it's like the winters. I mean, it's been cold in bits and pieces, but it's not hugely cold. And yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd be like, look at the sky. I've nothing much to do today, just a little bit of work, a little bit of study, editing my book. It's going to be a pretty slow edit. It's kind of difficult. It's got some intricate writing, which means I have to be careful with the paragraphing, and I'm like, I always want the books to be really good, but they end up being mediocre because I've recited something or other. And so sometimes I'm like, oh dang my editing skills. But like with my last book, I mean, I just allowed for a certain age group yesterday, so I edited it, but I didn't redo the book itself. And at the beginning, it has a huge grammatical error, where I'm putting like past instead of present tense or something, and it's like it looks really kind of crappy. And I'm like, I really should fix that. But I haven't. Yeah, but this book could be the same. It's just a lot of, I have to sort of try and keep a tone, a particular tone, and it's like I have to read it and reread it, and it's like reading a few pages yesterday was pretty slow and daunting. I'm thinking, oh, this is more difficult than what you expect. But I think it's good. I just don't know how it's gonna be to edit, because it's actually quite a little intricate piece of writing that I have to add little bits to keep it in the style and theme of the tone at the beginning, because I like the beginning. The beginning's the best, but since I haven't read it through, I have no idea how it connects to the body in the end. So but I like the language used at the beginning because I'm trying to think out of my box and think something original. And then it's like I'm expecting as I go on that the story actually, becomes more like just words and not creativity. And it's like, yeah, so I have to make sure like it has a few little pickup words to connect it to the beginning, because otherwise, I'm losing the character at the beginning and then just going on with the plain story. And I'm like, well, that's not what I was looking for. Because at the beginning I was particularly poetic, and then towards the end it's like, I'm not sure if I've kept my poetic voice all the way through it, so it's like I have to sort of make sure that I do. So that's sort of themed in the same tone, use of language, sort of. Anyway. But it's probably not going to be a masterpiece, but I actually thought the beginning was really good. Like when I was reading it through yesterday, I was like, oh, that's a good beginning. That makes me want to read more. Yeah. No, but I had a lazy dream. Don't remember what I was dreaming, but when I wake up, I was like, oh. I keep wanting to move away from who I live with, right? Because, like, you always think, I've really put my life on pause over and again to in essence of the personalities around you. And as everyone's getting older, you just see they have the same personality. It's always negative towards you. It's always going to be that way. And it's not even like it's just like a forever thing. And then I'm like, I've wasted my time. Like when I was young, I wasted my time even considering. When I was young, I was like, oh, I can't afford anything. I have to stick by things. And then, but now it's like, now that you're so much older, it's like, oh, I really shouldn't be hanging around listening to someone like who's just wants to treat you like, like like that forever. And then you're like, I think it's a personality flaw, probably sometimes. Just all this, oh, you can't do anything, I have to do everything for you, and all this other stuff. And I can actually do things, I just don't bother because you're always nitpicking and wanting to pretend that you're the only person who can do these things. So, yeah. But, it's actually a flaw in personality. I was like, as if I didn't know that, but I just haven't ever escaped it. I always feel like, I'm needing to, compensate for hanging around with someone who's got a kind of crappy personality and attitude towards me. It's like when you're younger, it's like everyone thinks that you're like the terrible teen with the wrong personality, and then when you get older, you realize, oh, it's always going to be this way. It's like, you're just like, the older, younger person who can see that it's a personality flaw. And I don't know, with everyone dying, I guess, they get less support, as they get older too. But it's just an attitude problem. It's like a conflicting personality. You don't have to say, oh, you have to change. I've had some people be like, oh, you have to change because you're obviously, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, no, you don't have to change. It's just nice if you're further away so that you can be your personality and they can be theirs. And it's like, you don't have to change. No. You just separate. Like, if I could afford it, I would, because I always feel like I'm holding myself inside, holding myself back, being polite even though everyone's let you down. It was pretend that, I always pretend that, it is polite, even just holding your words is polite. It's like, I keep thinking if I was a different personality, I'd be charging assaults and accusations every day. But it is polite to just be like, well, that fell apart real quick, and now I have to just, you know, work on things again or do something else. My problem is I don't have a lot of support anywhere. So when things fall apart, it's like, it doesn't surprise me because it was so flimsy in the first place, but it is a pretty big rupture. And then you're like, and then it's like back at home, everyone's suddenly normal, you know. Nice if they could, you know, because they're like the attacking royalty, you know, they want to be like, let's budge a ship and make it sink kind of aspect. And whenever I'm doing something, if it's like towards a career or a particular goal or achievement, everyone's just like busy ramming you rather than saying, oh, that's great for you, or, you know, being supportive. But they get on their high heads. You know, they start, you know, putting like, oh no, she's not royalty, she can't, you know, she can't be there. And it's not the people that I approve personally to be there. And they start heading towards this, you know, negative attitude or, you know, assault to make sure that you are drowned, you know, that your career falls apart. And everyone, of course, who barely supported you starts agreeing, yeah, it's a great idea that you should, you know, be totally have your career taken away because, you know, of this negativity. You know, it's never going to stop. It's really going, oh yeah, it's just my career. I mean, it's just, you know, the things that I'm doing. I mean, I'm not earning a heap of money. That's why I don't go skits face about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like the best thing that's ever happened to me and best thing I got going for me. You know, back in normal land, you know, no one's going to give me the best jobs in the office or anything. So, you know, it's just the best achievement I ever had, and everyone's too busy playing you, and playing you to wreck you to realize, oh, this is just the best thing, you know, in the world, you know, right now. It's like, it's like back in normal world, you know, I'm just going to be like not working and not earning much money and, you know, surviving on $30 a week again. And I'm so glad that my parents want me to live with them again, but, you know, generally they hate me living with them, so they turf me out whenever they want, and then I'm back to, you know, scrounge around on the bottom and trying to find the cheapest of rents or housing to move to because everyone's given up on you. And you're like going, yeah, I mean, this is just like my life right now. It's like, oh, how nice of everyone to sort of use my parents' example to put you back down on the ground, you know, despite having you know, achieved this and achieved that. And I was like, yeah. I mean, technically, I should be turning around and saying, I'm not getting paid for this shit, so don't come near me. But technically, like, everyone's playing you, so it's not just your parents, but other people, like, mocking you. Like, every bit of violence people surround you with, you know, it's just this, you know, degradation on you as you know, and your work, you know, it's like, oh, you're not really doing anything much. I mean, you're just showing up, and everyone's just, you know, just using you, and then you're like leaving, and then it's like you're not really doing anything. It's like, no, I guess not. I mean, technically, I'm not being paid, so. But everyone says one excuse after another. We paid publicists, blah blah blah. But, you know, and then the publicists would start going, yeah, we've been paid, we're not going to give you anything. I think it's just like a general negative, like, attitude to create a story, like, as though you are perspective to getting money, but I don't think I ever was. And so I'm like, I had to be reminded at some stage, oh, you know, you agreed to volunteer, kind of, and I was like, I didn't know what I agreed to. I think it was more likely to be paid something if the profits escalate, but the profits escalated and I wasn't paid anything. I'm like, you know, I think it was like, I never signed volunteer forms unless I'm being forced to. I generally don't see the reason why I should be a volunteer. But people hate you. I mean, everywhere people hate you. I mean, on the ground people hate you, up in the air people hate you, so that you're not like the world's most liked person, but people like you and they like what you do and they like how you look and if you're dressed up in the right way. And then it's like, what are you going to do? Just live the moment and pretend like you're not like gonna hit the ground and then go back to Paulville or what? So, well, I'm definitely not like achieving in real life anyways, so I may as well just enjoy the moment, I guess. But it gets tough. I mean, I always see the reason for things, and sometimes people do pay me, but mostly for modeling though. I should go back to looking for gigs. A couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000 there might lead to a $20,000 here. So, I mean, I have gotten payment, but a lot of people like just scrounging around on these stupid. I don't know, we have to pay your publicist and, these silly ideas. Like, some people just give you straight payments, and then most others, though, they don't. They make an excuse to be like, convey them, move the money around other places before it gets to you, and of course it never gets to you. So it's like, if you pass like around a tray of diamonds, I mean, will everyone just pass it around until they give it to you? And it's like, no. Like, give you the whole plate, and it's like, no, everyone's gonna like pick little bits of diamonds and pocket them themselves, and that's sort of what it seems like a lot. But I don't know, I mean, it just seems to be the way life is right now, and I'm like, it's a pretty low deal, but you have to sort of deal with that. And then you're like, because it's not changing. I mean, just because I'm back on Earth doesn't mean things change for you. Everything's the same, and you're like going, it is a raw deal, but it seems to be the best that you're getting right now. It's like maybe in the future it might change, but at the moment it's like that's how things have been for the last 20 years, and you're like going, yeah, I mean, it could go on forever. I mean, everyone who makes money, creators make money more than you, and you're like going, well, I'm probably not doing myself any favors, but I'm not doing anything anyway. So like, you do know when you step into modeling or acting, like anything can happen. That's what everyone thinks before they move onto the ship of dreams. That anything can happen. You might end up, facing any obstacle or challenge. And then you're like, of course I know that. I mean, everyone knows that. And everyone's terrified of the worst happening, like they get injured or die, filming. Because nothing's 100% safe. Everything has, an open opportunity to not just surprise you, but to be dangerous, And like literally, like you're just doing things you would never have done ever or faced ever, because it's not there when you wake up and get out of bed. You don't face that kind of world. And then you're facing all these foreign things, and you're like the newbie. You haven't planned this. You're like the newbie who steps into the ring and has no idea what's going to happen. And then you just go with the flow. And of course, some people do get injured. I've definitely seen people get injured, and the more liked ones get compensated. You always keep going, oh, so-and-so is liked so much that of course they're going to get highly compensated, and you get nothing, even if you do the same injury, because, people just don't like you that much. Yeah, it's a little bit of a popularity thing, isn't it? Could be a family affair, it's like, oh, let's pretend like, this isn't our family and pay them the most, but it can be anything, But, I don't know, like you said, if you're not doing anything much and nothing's going for you, just go in there, see what you see, maybe you'll get some money. I almost got some money once, but apparently I filled in the wrong, I said, yeah, that's my details when it was wrong. And I was going to be flushed with money, like a bunch of money. Not the most money, but a good amount of money. But because I oversighted, I didn't see the glitch. And I didn't realize that it was there. I was like, oh. But I did check my account directly when I went back home. And I noticed that there was a digit out of place. I was like, that wasn't there at the end of last week when I checked. It's like I had checked, but someone had gotten into the system, changed it on the weekend. And so by the Monday, they sent the money apparently to the wrong person. Or either that or they just created a story and didn't set it anywhere. But either way, I didn't get any money and no one feels like repaying me anything. So ever since I've been a little bit of a toy thing to treat like crap. It's like, that's alright, she just does whatever, no payments. Yeah, that's how society works. Free. It's like, no, not really. It's not how society works. I mean, apparently people earning more and more money if than ever and charging more. I know I've taken the brunt of more excessive charges, and I've never been anything huge and haven't been made of money. And people pretend you are, and then they're like, excessive charge over this and that, and you're like, eh. So I know what excessive charges is. People just pocket thousands and millions of billions of dollars if they feel like pushing a button and charging. And the courts are like, let's just agree with this because it's a movement for us to grab money. So everyone's pocketing all this people's money, and then they're expecting them to make more money for them. It's a real slave mentality where people are just like paying more and more, and it's like as if you're not paying enough already, and then they steal your money and they put up ransoms to steal your money, and unfair courts, they just distributed any vast amounts of money on excessive rulings, whereas things are vice versa. You don't receive very much, and then in compensation to things, and then the other way around, that millions and millions of dollars. And so it's like, and then you got all these, on the spot additional charges for people who they think have money, and then they're like, they're really just swaggy, like they're drinking everything, and then they're charging more for cost of living, and it's really unfair. It's like you can tell, like there's a big people on top want to stay on top thing, and they're just like literally like feeling free to do any charges and excessive charges and additional charges, and nice car, let's charge you additional for add a pound. I was charged $25,000 instead of $250 to get a nice car at a pound. And they're like, that's okay, you can afford it, you get a nice car. And of course, $250 is going to go into the pound, and then the extra money that a person's just decided to charge you, it's going straight into their pockets. You can guarantee it. So this is all it's so unfair. It's like, I don't know how you're supposed to live. I don't even live. I just stay with relatives. Because I blame, obviously, blame my cash over and over again. And it's like, and my relatives always are like, you've got money, you can leave. And then when you don't have money, you can come back. And obviously, if they hadn't ever expected you to leave at any stage, or you hadn't wanted to run because they're being very negative, that obviously you would have so much more money than what you have. But since everything has gone down, it's like, don't have anything, sticks and stones. I'm gonna have to buy a cheap property one day and build. Oh, you don't have to build your own house. You can build your own house. Sometimes building your own house is better, but otherwise you can just shove a flimsy wooden house that you buy for cheap on there and fix up the wooden house. I've done that before too. house like this. Oh. They only cost $35,000 from a second-hand house dealer. And they come with all these floors, and you have to just sand and stucco, and I mean you can just stucco all over the wood and then make a nice little villa looking house. That's what I've done before here on this property. It was so nice, but then tornado came. No tornado this year in the past year here. You're like going, well, that's good because the windows are still cracked. But I think a lot of places are going to have better weather. And after 2006, that's sort of the expectant. There's going to be better weather and less serious weather, so that people can actually live in a house, and you're like going, ooh. So sometime in the next couple of years, if I find a cheap place, I want to buy something. But I know, knowing my luck, I'll just buy something and be like, ew, bad weather again. That always happens to me. I always hit the bad weather times. So someone pushes a button for bad weather over anything that I buy.